Have you ever watched one of those house flipping shows and thought, easy money? Just buy a beat-up old house, throw in some paint, install granite countertops, sell it for a huge profit. It is like the sure thing lottery ticket. The reality, most beginner flippers don't lose money because they're bad people. They lose money because they misunderstand the business. They focus on the house when they should be focusing on the numbers. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the fix and flip business. We'll cover how a flip actually works, the timeline professional investors follow, the key terms every investor should know, why some flips make six figures, why others become financial disasters, and the most common mistakes beginners make. So grab a notebook, because if you're considering your first flip, this video could save you tens of thousands of dollars. What is a fix and flip? At its core, a fix and flip is simple. You buy a property below market value, you improve it or ally it, then you sell it for more than your total investment. That's it. You're not buying because you love the neighborhood. You're not buying because the kitchen is cute. You're not buying because you can imagine yourself living there. You're buying an asset, a business project, a temporary inventory item. That's one of the first mindset shifts new investors have to make. The house is not your future home, it's inventory. The moment emotions enter the equation, profits often leave. Why do flips exist? Many people wonder, if the house is worth more fixed up, why doesn't the owner just do the work themselves? Great question. Because many sellers don't have time or money. Maybe they don't have the skills, or maybe they just want out of it. Some are facing divorce. Some inherited grandma's old house and simply don't know what to do with it. Some are moving and need to leave quickly. Some are landlords who are tired of dealing with tenants. They're willing to sell at a discount in exchange for convenience. That discount is where investors create value. The fix and flip timeline. Let's walk through the typical process. Professional investors usually follow 6 major steps. Skip one, or forget the process, and things can go sideways quickly. Step 1. Find the property. This is where most people start, and it's where many fail. Because beginners often believe the money is made during the renovation. It's not. The money is usually made when you buy. Professional investors spend enormous amounts of time looking for deals. Why? Because a great renovation cannot rescue a terrible purchase. Where do investors find deals? In several places, in fact. The multiple listing service foreclosures, estate sales, wholesalers, tax delinquent properties, driving for dollars, direct mail campaigns, networking, off-market opportunities. Many of the best deals never hit Zillow. They never hit Realtor.com. They never appear on the MLS. They're discovered before the public ever sees them. That's why experienced investors spend so much time building relationships. Step 2. Analyze the deal. This is where the real work begins. Before buying anything, investors ask one critical question. What will this property be worth after repairs? That brings us to our first major term, ARV, after repair value. ARV stands for after repair value. It's the estimated value of the property once all improvements are complete. Imagine a house currently worth $120,000. After renovation, similar homes are selling for $220,000. Your ARV might be around $220,000. Notice I said might, because ARV isn't magic, it's an estimate. And bad estimates destroy profits. The ARV is where we must be the most conservative. Comps. How do investors estimate ARV? Using comps, comparable sales. Comps are recently sold homes that are similar in size, condition, age, location, features. If 3 similar houses sold recently for $215,000, $220,000, and $225,000, then your estimated ARV may be around $220,000. Bad comps create bad ARVs. Bad ARVs create bad investments. Step 3. Purchase the property. Once you've estimated ARV and repair costs, you determine whether the deal works. This is where many investors use some version of the famous 70% rule. The concept is simple. You generally don't want your purchase price plus repairs to exceed roughly 70% of the ARV before financing and selling costs. Now, it's not a law. It's not perfect. But it helps beginners avoid overpaying. And overpaying is probably the most common mistake in the flipping business. Why overpaying is deadly. Most beginners worry about renovation costs. Professionals worry about purchase price. Because if you overpay by $25,000, you can't paint your way out of that mistake. You can't install enough luxury vinyl plank flooring to fix it. The deal has to work on day 1. Step 4. Renovate the property. Now comes the fun part. The renovation. This is where TV shows spend 90% of their airtime. But ironically, it's often the least important part of the investment decision. Scope of work. Professional investors create something called a scope of work, a detailed document listing everything being repaired, everything being replaced, everything being upgraded. For example, new roof, paint, flooring, kitchen cabinets, bathroom remodel, HVAC replacement, electrical updates. The scope keeps contractors accountable. Without it, cost overruns become common. Why flips go over budget? Because houses lie. Not intentionally, but once walls are opened, surprises appear. Rot, mold, foundation issues, electrical problems, plumbing issues, termite damage. That's why experienced investors include contingency reserves. The unexpected isn't unexpected, it's expected. Step 5. Market the property. Once the work is finished, it's time to sell. This stage is often overlooked. Many investors focus entirely on construction, then become shocked when the property sits on the market. Professional presentation matters. Photography matters. Pricing matters. Staging matters. First impressions matter. You're competing against every other home available in that market. Step 6. Sell the property. Now, the investor exits the project. And this introduces another important term: exit strategy. An exit strategy is your plan for getting out of the investment before buying the property, not after, before. The most common exit strategy is selling, but smart investors usually have backups. For example, sell it, rent it, seller finance it, refinance and hold it. Because markets can change unexpectedly. Flexibility is valuable. Calculating profit. This is where many beginners make a massive mistake. They calculate profit like this: bought for $150,000, sold for $250,000, made $100,000. Wrong. Very wrong. Let's look deeper. Purchase price, repair costs, closing costs, financing costs, insurance, utilities, taxes, realtor commissions, interest payments, maintenance. These all matter, and they lead us to another important term: holding costs. Holding costs are expenses incurred while you own the property. Every month costs money. Interest, utilities, insurance, property taxes, lawn care, snow removal, security. The longer a project takes, the more holding costs accumulate. Time literally becomes money. Equity. Another key term is equity. Equity equals property value minus debt. If your house is worth $250,000 and you owe $150,000, you have $100,000 in equity. Appreciation. Appreciation is different. Appreciation occurs when the market itself increases value. Maybe the neighborhood improves. Maybe housing demand rises. Maybe interest rates fall. The property becomes worth more, even without renovations. Great investors appreciate appreciation, but never depend on it, because markets don't always cooperate. Why flips succeed? Let's discuss why some investors consistently make money. It's usually not because they're smarter, it's because they're disciplined. Successful flippers. Buy right. Know their numbers. Control costs. Move quickly. Maintain reserves. Build contractor relationships. Remain unemotional. Notice what's missing? Luck. Professional investors focus on systems, not hope. Why flips fail? Now the ugly side. Why do flips fail? Usually for predictable reasons. Overpaying, bad ARV estimates, poor contractor management, budget overruns, timeline delays, market shifts, lack of reserves, and perhaps the biggest reason of all, emotional decision-making. Cash flow, FIAS flipping. Another term worth understanding is cash flow. Flipping creates one-time profits. Rental properties create ongoing cash flow. Many investors eventually use flipping to generate capital, then purchase rentals for long-term income. It's not either or. Many successful investors do both. If you remember nothing else from today's video, remember this. Flipping houses is not a construction business. It's not a decorating business. It's not a television show. It's a numbers business. The most successful investors aren't necessarily the best contractors. They're the best deal analyzers. They understand ARV. They understand comps. They understand holding costs. They understand risk. And most importantly, they know when to walk away. Because sometimes the most profitable flip you'll ever do is the one you never buy. I'm Milton's Ghost. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what's the biggest question you have about fix and flip investing. And until next time, follow the incentives.